Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about infrared sensors, which is that little sensor in the TV remote, where you kind of have to point your TV remote at your TV to make sure it can get the button that you're pressing. Yeah, that kind of sensor. We're going to be working with that today. So the first thing that we're going to do is just sort of understand what's going on between the sensor, the Arduino, and all of that. And then we're going to actually get to coding it. So here's how it works. We have this thing called an IR emitter, and this is the thing in your TV remote. And this sends out an IR signal. Then you have an IR receiver that's hooked up to the Arduino, and the IR receiver picks up the signal. And then the Arduino does something based on the signal that the receiver gets, right? So the Arduino will do whatever it wants, okay? And something to note is that in Tinkercad, we're going to be using a TV remote as an IR emitter, because why not, right? TV remotes have emitters. That's what we're used to working with, so we're going to be working exactly with that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Tinkercad and make our circuit. Call this 4.6 circuit. And then let's grab an Arduino. What else do we want? Let's see, TV remote. So we're going to do IR remote. And then let's go ahead and grab an IR sensor. Do we want to use a breadboard? Sure, why not? Let's use a breadboard actually, because I'm going to give you guys a task, and if you have a breadboard, it'll make it easier. Okay. So let's get breadboard. Actually, let's keep it oriented naturally. And then let's get the IR sensor. Okay, there we go. Let's just hook this on there. Okay. So now we've got our breadboard, we've got our IR sensor. Now you can hover over and see the pins that you need for the IR sensor. The wiring's fairly straightforward, kind of what we're used to seeing. We got the output pin, right? That's sort of your standard. Okay, let's go to a digital pin. You have ground, go to ground, and then you have power. That's 5 volts, right? Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So power is going to go to 5 volts. I'll just put it here and then extend it after. Ground is going to go to ground. Again, we'll just wire it here and then extend it after. And then we need an input pin, which needs to be PWM. So let's use pin 3. Okay, wonderful. So let's then go ahead and just finish the extension. So let's grab this one from here. We're going to go to ground. Let's line up the wires. Standard boilerplate stuff at this point. Oh, I don't want to make that red. That's my bad. Okay. Next wire I want to be red. Okay. Then go straight to 5 volts. Okay, wonderful. So that's the sensor wired up. Now comes the code, right? And the code's going to be actually pretty similar to that NeoPixel, although I would argue that it's a lot simpler. But it's similar in that it's going to involve the use of a library, okay? And the library that we're going to be using is the IR receiver library. So if you scroll down, or rather not scroll down, if you just look, you'll see IR remote, and it's a library to decode IR sensors. That's exactly what we're going to be using. Okay, so here's the idea, right? This remote is going to send a unique number across the infrared spectrum, okay? And then this receiver is going to pick up that number. That's the basic idea on how this works, okay? And then our job in code is to do something based on the number that we receive, okay? So here's what we're going to do, right? The first thing I want to do is just make a variable to hold that number, right? So it's going to be an integer, and an integer, again, is just a whole number, right? Anything without a decimal. And we're going to call it command, right? The command that we receive, let's just set it equal to -1 for now, because we don't send negative commands across. Oh, this remote, rather, won't send a negative number. It'll send a positive number. So, again, 0 represents one number, the number 1, 2, this EQ button, the on up button, volume up, volume down. They all represent unique numbers that get sent across the IR spectrum, right? And then this IR receiver is going to receive that number. So what we're going to do is inside setup, I want to start the serial monitor so we can print out that number. And then we need to set up our IR sensor. We need to tell it to start receiving. Or just, rather, when I say IR sensor, I mean this receiver here, not the emitter that's in the remote at the top. I'm talking about the receiver hooked up to the Arduino. So we're going to set up the receiver. So it's going to be IR receiver dot begin. And then you're going to use the IR receiver pin. So that's going to be 3. And then we're going to enable LED feedback. And what this is going to do is just flash the built-in Arduino LED every time you get a command. That's all that means. So you can know for sure that, okay, I've got a command. So if anything, the next thing we're going to be doing is figuring out, well, okay, when do I actually want to print out the number that I get? Well, I want to print out the number that I get when I actually get a number, right? And so there's a decode method that returns a true or false value if you get a number. So if IRReceiver.decode, if this is true, right? If this receiver gets a signal that's not 0, right? If it gets a signal, right? If it gets a signal that's valid that it receives from the remote, then we'll set our command equal to IRReceiver. So it's going to be IRReceiver.decoded IR data.command. So that's decoding the command, all right? And then we're going to print that out to the serial monitor. And then afterwards, we are going to resume our serial monitor. Okay. Or not resume the serial monitor, rather resume the IR sensor so that it can continue receiving. All right. So let's go ahead and start the simulation. And then go to the serial monitor. You'll notice nothing's being printed out right now because, in fact, we're not getting a valid signal, right? But now if I go ahead and go to my remote and I hit 0, well, it doesn't seem to be working. Oh, I think I might know why. I think we forgot a delay. Yeah, let's try that again. Strange. Let's see. Let me check my notes here. IRReceiver.decoded IR data.command. We have IRReceiver.begin. And 3, for some reason, our LED is staying on. What could be happening here? Let's see. Pin 3, IRReceiver.begin. Yeah, that looks all good. Enable LED feedback if IRReceiver.decode. Command equals that. Print the command. And then resume. Maybe I have to move the remote so that it's... No, that doesn't make sense. Let's try one thing. Nope, no difference there. Maybe my IR receiver is not wired correctly. That might be the issue. Let's see. Ah, that is the issue. Okay. I accidentally put the 5-volt pin here. Okay, now we should be good to go. Let's go to our code, and then let's hit the number. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so when we hit 0, we get 12. When we hit 1, we get 16. EQ is 13. Set or repeat, or whatever this button is 14. And then, yeah, see, every number corresponds to a particular signal. So power is 0, right? Volume up is 1. Volume down is 9, right? You have all these different numbers that you can use. And then notice that every time we click a button, the built-in LED on the Arduino turns on, right? So here is where I bring a task to you, right? What I want you to do is, based on the command that you receive, I want you to turn on a particular LED. So I want you to wire a red, green, and blue LED. And then based on a number, or rather the command that you receive, turn on a particular LED and turn the other ones off, all right? So for example, if the command that you get is 12, turn on the blue LED and turn red and green off. If the command that you get is 13, turn on the green LED with blue and red off. If the command that you get is 14, turn on the remaining one, whichever one that was. I believe it's green, so you turn off blue and red. So that's sort of the order I want you to go about the logic. It's going to involve if and else if statements, all right? So keep that in mind. And yeah, so remember, when we check for numerical equality, it's going to be something like if command equals, let's say 12, then turn on, let me close the brackets. This is going to be turn on green, turn off R plus B. I'll just write that for R and B. Else if command equals 13, right? And again, You're going to have to see what the command is based on the buttons you want to use, but it's going to be turn on blue, turn off G plus R, right? And then else if command equals 14, right? It's going to be turn on red, turn off G plus B, right? So that's going to be the idea that I want you to go ahead and try on your own. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in Chapter 5.